It's time for the MotoAmerica AMA FIM North American Road Race Championship. This round is MotoAmerica Superbikes at Texas. It's 8 of 9 for 2024 at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. In our 10th anniversary season, and Supersport Race number 1 is right around the corner as we are setting the stage for what is going to happen at a 3.4-mile beautiful up and down circuit here in Texas. Hello everyone and welcome to the broadcast booth. I'm Greg White, standing alongside two-time national champ Jason Pridmore. Now Jason, it's the same situation we have been talking about race after race for the last half of the season. It's down to 2 riders in this championship.
Yeah, Matthew Skoltz and PJ Jacobsen have shown that they are the class of this year's field. However, I think at this place specifically, COTA, it's going to be a lot closer. You're going to get some good look here at Matthew Skoltz. He's leading the championship, Greg. As you can see there, those 7 wins and 13 podiums. This guy has been hungry for winning this championship, and I think he's surprised a lot of people in the paddock as far as his, not only just his aggressiveness, but his consistency as well in wanting to win. But this guy, PJ Jacobsen, not out of it yet. You see 6 wins, 12 podiums. Both these guys, there was a little, they got into each other at the Ridge. Then they had a close pass there at Laguna Seca. Ultimately, it's just been these 2 guys winning all year long.
Well, taking a look at that, you were talking about the Ridge, and this is where the thing started to get super interesting in this championship as PJ hit the deck at the Ridge, so then it was 25-point advantage. But then you have a run of wins for PJ. But then it was Mid-Ohio race number 2 where things got a little interesting.
Yeah, that was a really interesting race because we could tell that something was going on with PJ at the end of that race. And with 2 laps to go, he was struggling a lot with front end grip. And ultimately, that's a pretty big point spread between those 2. This late in the year to have that happen and not even be on the podium, that was a big blow for PJ Jacobsen there.
Yeah, it's very interesting here in Supersport, and the 3rd member of our broadcast team is under the blazing sunshine here in Texas on the grid. It's Hannah Lopa.
Points are tight at the front of this championship chase, and Matthew Skoltz on pole position for both races this weekend. Matt, as the races wind down, what do we need to focus on in order to be the one that pulls this championship off?
I mean, I've had a pretty good weekend so far. I think I've led every practice. I'm just going to go out there and put down the laps that I know I can. And if I'm battling with somebody, just try to think of where to pass them on the final lap. But overall, I'm the one leading the championship, so I can settle. But I'm just going to take things as they come. I'm definitely feeling confident for the race coming up.
Sounds like a very flexible strategy from Matthew Skoltz. Moving right across the front row here, you've got Tyler Scott starting from the 2nd position. Could potentially be a factor. We'll talk about where his loyalties lie in this championship in just a bit. PJ Jacobsen, the other championship rival here at the front, starting from 3rd. Still a front row start for you, PJ. What is the most important thing for you to focus on in order for this championship to come to fruition for you in a brand new team?
Yeah, just trying to win races for the rest of the season. It's going to be a hot one out there today, but I feel like there'll be kind of a group battle. So, yeah, we'll see and just kind of take it lap by lap and see how it goes.
All right, best of luck out there, PJ. Guys.
Yeah, thanks, Anna. And, of course, Circuit of the Americas, Jay, had like a partial repave, a good majority of this track, and there was a question mark of how tires are going to last, and, of course, with this heat. So we feel up here that it could be a battle amongst riders and tires. But, Jay, 3.4 miles long, an ode to Kevin Schwantz.
Yeah, and when you look at this track, Greg, there's 3 specific turns: turn 1, turn 10, turn 11 and 12. All very hard braking areas. You see that series of S's, pretty one line, but such a fun section of track. Turns 13 through 16 are in the stadium section, and then 17 and 18, that's all been repaved, and the riders are raving about how great that is. Through 19 and then turn 20, another hard braking spot. But really the problem here, not a problem, the thing is you got to get the bike slowed down, and you can't screw up those slow corners too much because they ruin your runs down those straightaways.
A very fast lap by Matthew Skoltz, who sits on pole position as we have a talented field of racers here in Supersport. But as we are just 5 minutes away from race action, how about this guy, Martin Cardenas? This isn't 2014, it's 2024. He's going to try to get a podium here at COTA.
Your live coverage continuing here on MotoAmerica Live Plus as you see Tyler Scott sitting out in his grid position, qualifying 2nd up there on the front row today. Roger, he's the only other rider that's been able to win this year. So we're getting to the end of this season. What's on the line for a rider like Tyler?
Well, I think he just wants to finish the year with wins. He's not in the championship battle, and doesn't have anything to do with him. You know, he'll respect those guys, but he's here and he's going to try to go for the win. He won here last year, or good races here previously as well. So I think this is a track where he comes into where he knows that he can do good. And you know, Tyler, the season hasn't gone the way that he wanted, and I think he'd like to turn things around here toward the end of the season. Really close to a win at Mid-Ohio, so we know he's got the speed.
As he puts the helmet on, we're getting closer and closer to Supersport Racing. There is the number 85. That's Jake Lewis, who is stretching out there on the grid, getting himself ready for the battle that is ahead. Jake Lewis has been able to score points every round this season.
Yeah, and even the last couple races, you go back to Mid-Ohio, he was really fast there as well. And one of the guys we thought that might be able to fight for the win there, he just got off the Super Hooligan bike. So we know that he's warmed up, and he's actually showing some speed this weekend as well. So big important thing for Jake, I think, is get a good start and not let like Matt and PJ and Tyler and those guys kind of check out those first couple laps.
Yeah, for Jake Lewis, he was able to get a podium in that Super Hooligan race too. So coming in with some momentum, there is the number 22. That is Blake Davis. He started the season off with a podium finish back at the first race at Road Atlanta. He sits fourth in the championship point standings right now. He's been on the podium 4 times this year, but he has yet to be able to put one together for a win.
Yeah, and yesterday he was really fast, kind of like he was at Mid-Ohio, and wasn't really able to find the step quite like all the other riders in front of him on the grid was able to make this morning. So we'll see if they made some changes from that qualifying, if he can, make that step with the other riders that they made overnight. And we know the talent that Blake is, and he's got the confidence, and I think he feels like he can run with those guys if he can get up there early.
Blake is the reigning Twins Cup champion. You can still say that championship not locked up yet. 2 races remaining. They'll crown that champion here this weekend. But for Blake Davis, this has been a big step up to Supersport for him, and he has certainly been able to learn a lot of lessons.
Yeah, and it's a big step going to Supersport. And you're racing guys like Matt and PJ and Jake Lewis. You can go Tyler Scott, Corey Alexander. For such a young rider, I mean, it's going to be such a learning year for him, and you have to expect the ups and downs. But for as young as Blake is, it's just been incredible what he's did this year.
Going back up to the head of the field, you see Matthew Skoltz. He's got the visor down on his helmet. These riders are all ready for the race that is in front of them. It is scheduled to be an 11-lap battle. I'm going to send it back over to Greg White and Jason Pridmore for the Supersport call.
MotoAmerica Supersport coverage is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
Beautiful shots, Austin, Texas here. Circuit of the Americas just down the road. And a massive complex here at Circuit of the Americas as the massive Stars and Stripes fly. And Jason Pridmore getting ready for Supersport race number 1. You had a chance to talk to a lot of riders. What are your initial feelings about this 11-lap race?
I think some of it has been the repaved. Tire choice is going to be important here. We've got our updates from Dunlop, and there's a little bit of a mix on the front tires as far as that from R3 to R5. And, Greg, everybody's kind of, the heat. It's so hot. Track temperatures are way up there. The repave, I think that there's a lot of little elements that have come into play this weekend that are making compromising situations for some of the riders. I do agree with PJ. He said at the beginning here that he feels that there's going to be more than him and Matthew up front. There's going to be a small group, and I really feel that is going to be the play. You heard Matthew. He didn't just talk about going up against PJ here. He spoke about he's going to kind of place things out and see how things go, because I think he also realizes there could be a few more people at the front of this race. And there you go, Greg. Track temperature is 110. Which seems low to me. I would think it would be higher with a 95-degree temperature outside. Feels warmer than that. Little breeze maybe makes it feel a little cooler. But even on that new pavement, you've got some of the old pavement, some of the new pavement. The riders are raving about how good the new pavement is, though, which is great.
Yeah, not only the grip, but also that the bumps that we've had here are gone. Let's take a look at the starting grid and see how they qualified over the last couple days. Basically, you have 2 sessions, and your fastest time gets recorded, and it's Schultz at a 2:13.370 on pole.
And then you got Ty Scott, PJ Jacobson, Jake Lewis with a really nice job. Corey Alexander, they fixed his bike from Mid-Ohio. Fellini there, you saw him in 6th. Then we had Blake Davis. Great to see Martin Cardenas back. Linares Mesa, David Anthony, and Kayla Yakov. Had a good discussion with her. Gerardo, Max Van, Aiden Sneed on the MV Augusta, Teague Hobbs, Torrin Collins, and Enriquez is going to be row 6. And you have Nassani, Soltis, Owen Williams, Chase Black, Riston Grigg, and DeLeon. A little further back, Rivera, LaRose, Zaragoza, Erstein, Vandal, and Omen. And then just on that back row, you have Medina and Rizzo. So, you know, Greg, I mean, again, it's a very hot day out there. This place, more than any of them, when you start to look at what this first turn offers, you see that big steep uphill, don't you, right there in front. You know, when you go up to the top of that hill, from the speed that they're going to be coming from here, they're about halfway or further down that straightaway. So it's going to be a slower speed going in. And you want to just be able to see guys funnel their way, or riders funnel their way through that turn 1 safely, and then the race can really get going.
There's the 85 of Jake Lewis on the Altus Motorsports GSXR 750. He has been a breath of fresh air here at Circuit of the Americas, being a much taller rider than a lot of his competitors. He's been super fast, and the return of Martin Cardenas.
Still rocking the Yost leathers.
Dude, that's got to get him a new set of leathers there.
Yeah, here we go.
11 laps scheduled for Supersport Race number 1. When the lights go off, we're racing. Matthew Schultz from pole position gets a good launch, but it looks like Ty Scott got a great jump on that Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki. So here we go up to turn number 1, a very tricky corner, and Ty Scott's going to get his bike slowed down, and Schultz, a little bit of contact.
He tried to go across the front. Oh man, we got bikes down.
Matthew Schultz is down, your championship points leader, and Martin Cardenas
is with him.
They are down.
Matthew Schultz looked like he went across the front of PJ, and I'm not exactly sure what happened, but PJ might have fought back on the exit and caught maybe caught a bar. We'll have to see, but it looked like PJ had position, and Matthew kind of went across the front of him, which caused PJ to stand it up. I'm bummed to see Martin Cardenas go down. That's not a nice thing to have happen on your return after so many years being gone. But Cardenas' bike still laying on the outside between turns 1 and 2. Let's see what it's done up at the front here. Corey Alexander, I see 2nd. Ty Scott, Jake Lewis, and then there you got Mesa and Dave Anthony 5th. Where's PJ Jacobson? That's going to be the next big question. This has got huge championship implications. There you go. So they've kind of run into each other. Oh no, it was Cardenas. Cardenas was going down the inside and ran into the side of Matthew on the way down. So again, I'd like to see another look at that.
Yeah, because it kind of also looked like Schultz was trying to get back across the track for position.
Wow.
For just a moment, but look at all the riders. What a job they've done. Is now we have a lead change, and it's going to be 85 of Jake Lewis, who takes over the spot from Ty Scott. Those are 2 GSXR 750s going at it. And Corey Alexander on the 23 in 3rd. And for Alexander on the Ray Hall Ducati Moto with roller die informing on that Ducati Panigale V2, as Schultz is trying to do some onboard wrenching and trying to get that bike to work for him. So important that he remounted that motorcycle, because if there was a red flag that came out, he needed to be participating in order to continue on in this race. And so now off they go, and it looks like a little bit wide for Ty Scott.
It's going to open the door for Corey Alexander. I can see PJ Jacobson back there about 7th or 8th place. So he is rolling, Greg. So you're going to see him come into your shot right there on that yellow Ray Hall Ducati. So for PJ, this is a big opportunity now. He's going to be watching that pit board, I'm sure, to see if his team is saying anything about where Matthew Schultz could be. So Jake Lewis leads, Corey Alexander, Ty Scott, Mesa right there, Blake Davis, Dave Anthony crosses the line in 6th. How about Filippo Fellini there in 7th on a Hanos Ducati. PJ crosses the line in 8th with Teague Hobbs and Max Van, your top 10. Right now, Jake Lewis is trying to split from these guys at the front.
He certainly is, but a massive opportunity for the 15 of PJ Jacobson if he can find a way without destroying his tire to work his way up, because 29th is what we saw for Matthew Schultz. 30th right now, Jay, is what we're showing on timing and scoring.
And when you think about this too, Greg, it's most of the riders saw Matthew go down. I'm not sure if PJ saw that, but most of the other riders definitely saw Matthew tip over. So Now you got PJ's kind of got things settled back in. It'd be really interesting to see what PJ's, as he gets extremely loose. It would be really interesting to see what PJ's sort of next 5 or 6 seconds after Matthew had gone down. What does next 5 or 6 seconds look like for him to get shuffled back as far as he has?
So as this race starts to settle down.
Blake Davis is in there deep. You saw that bike dancing all over the place.
So for the 22 of Blake Davis on that N2 Racing bobblehead Moto Yamaha R6, he's going to lose a position or two. Very tricky coming off that back straightaway and getting that motorcycle slowed down. Here's another look at PJ. Lean angle and throttle. No traction control on these Ducati Panigale V2s.
Yeah, when I spoke to PJ, that's kind of what he was talking about. He's been struggling with anyways. It's some off throttle stuff, some on throttle stuff, just getting the bike to find some grip. Dave Anthony, nice run from Dave Anthony. And it's really funny how this field accordions, you saw that first split. Jake Lewis was really fast in that first split. Corey Alexander's been extremely fast in the second and third, and he's been able to pull away from this battle for third of Ty Scott and Stefano Mesa, with Blake Davis and Dave Anthony running there in the top 6.
As we look at Ty Scott, fastest lap of the race so far going to Corey Alexander last time by, a 2:14.821. And for Jake Lewis, he's 152 points back in this championship with only 100 points on offer. So it doesn't factor into the championship, but he's definitely looking for a win here in Supersport. As we look at PJ Jacobsen, fans of MotoAmerica can pick their favorite riders for a chance to win money. Available on your favorite sportbook and daily fantasy sites like DraftKings and Underdog Fantasy. Visit nxtbets.com/playma for exclusive sign-up bonuses for new players and receive cash bonuses available in legal states. Check nxtbets.com/playma to see where you can play in your state.
Having a look at this, you could see this first split, 37-9 to 38-1 for Corey Alexander. Those two are definitely the class of the field in the first split. They open up, well, basically a half a second on the riders in third and further back. PJ Jacobsen goes quickest first split. So 37-8 for the guy now in 8th place. So the first 2 or 3 guys went through, and then PJ went through and clicked off that fastest split. I see him easily being able to catch back up to this battle for the top 3. It looks like he's going to be in the draft of Dave Anthony as they go down the back straightaway. There you see PJ just pulling out to the left of Dave Anthony. So he's going to click off another spot. As he does, it's going to put him into 6th place.
And PJ Jacobsen setting the fastest split times of this lap of the race. So Sector 1 and Sector 2, PJ is on fire right now. He knows what lay ahead of him. We're going to give you the Matthew Skoltz check. Last time by the stripe, it was 28th position for Skoltz. And as a reminder, here in MotoAmerica, we only pay points up to 15th position. So 15th place pays 1 single point, and we're talking about a championship between Skoltz and PJ Jacobsen, which only has 25 points at the beginning of this race. So much to play for, as after this race, after the checkered flag flies, we only have 3 more opportunities to score points. So it's Lewis, Alexander, Ty Scott, Mesa, Blake Davis, David Anthony. PJ Jacobsen trying to make some moves forward.
I'll tell you, one of the things maybe you can look up for us, Greg, is the gap between Matthew and that points paying position in 15th place. How far back, how much track has he got to try to make up there between 28th place and 15th? That's what I'm going to be interested in, because any point right now for Matthew is going to be important, as PJ Jacobsen goes quickest lap of the race at a 14.1. In perspective now, Jake Lewis at a 14.5, Corey Alexander at a 14.6. Blake Davis was the only other rider in the 14s at a 14.7. So PJ just going to kind of methodically go through the field here as easy as he can and try to pull back as many points as he can on Matthew today. You can see PJ with a lot of roll speed through there. He's going to put himself into position to go up underneath Mesa through those S's there, and he's just kind of rolling through these guys at the moment. That's going to put him up into 5th.
So for Mesa on the Tytler Cycles Kawasaki, the Wisconsin-based dealership, the door was left open and PJ sneaks on through. So for PJ Jacobsen on the 15 machine on the Rahal Ducati Moto with Expel Ducati Panigale V2, he's marching his way towards the front. And Jay, you asked about Matthew Skoltz. It's 40.9 seconds he's back from the leaders, and he's got a 3.5 second margin, Jay. So if you look at and do the math, we're talking about a good ways away, about 20 seconds to a points paying position.
Ty Scott in really, really deep. See if Blake's able to get the bike turned, and Not quite. So it looked like Blake maybe had taken that position, and Ty Scott was able to get that back down the back straightaway. So we've seen Blake really come into his own. A couple podiums at the last round in Mid-Ohio for the number 22 bike there. Really positive feels from him at Mid-Ohio, and he's continuing that good feeling here at COTA with a charge up to the back wheel of Ty Scott. And I'm looking at PJ Jacobsen. He has no fast splits on this lap. So again, we're going to monitor his difference between first place here. It's 3.4 seconds off the lead that last time by for the 15.
And in sector number 2, just up the road from this battle, Corey Alexander is at the fastest sector 2 split as he's trying to chase down Jake Lewis.
Yeah, so like
sector 3 split.
3, yeah,
Sorry,
2:14.3. So the 2 guys at the front do their personal best laps on this race. Hannah.
For PJ Jacobsen, I talked to him about the weekend and how he's feeling overall, and he seems like he's in a really good headspace, just very calm and taking things one race at a time. We did talk about the bike, and he said he's pretty comfortable, but the power doesn't feel as strong here. He doesn't notice that top speed of the Ducati on the straightaways. It feels a bit different at some of the other tracks where he's been really strong. But regardless, it doesn't matter what's under him. He's going to ride it to the best of his ability. He's definitely happy to have more people in the mix at the front. This weekend, the pace is definitely high. I'm sure he'd hope to put a couple more riders between himself and Matthew Scholz right now.
That's a great point, Hannah. When you are in a championship title contention and you're just battling with one other rider, man, you want to see some other guys get up there with the hopes that you can put some people between. Matthew has ran a mistake-free weekend so far, and you got to just put that down as a racing incident that happened there on the exit of turn number 1. Ty Scott again in a little bit deep. Blake trying to square that turn up. Let's see if PJ can get in the draft of the Yamaha R6 of Blake Davis and do something with him at the end of the straightaway.
Well, the other thing is the 22 has got some good motor off the corner. He ran wide once before. We'll see if Blake, who's got a really fast motorcycle, is able to hold on to it. He's got confidence off the back straightaway. As you can see, Ty Scott looking for some real estate. So Blake Davis going a little bit hard on the brake lever off the back, just trying to get that motorcycle stopped, and is able to hold on to the position. So that's for 3rd place. So Davis now in 3rd, Ty Scott in 4th, and PJ Jacobsen right there as well. And that's really big because at the moment,
Blake's in deep
there he goes. So he'll give up position, and that's also going to give PJ Jacobsen another 2 points that he's looking for. So 13 points, the difference between where Matthew Scholz is in this championship and PJ Jacobsen.
Yeah, on our screen here, we're seeing bike 70 has a track limits warning. So we'll see. I'm not exactly sure where that was. A lot of times you can run out over the green here even, Greg, but PJ Jacobsen's going to sit on the back of Ty Scott. And again,
PJ with a mistake.
Missed a gear. Yeah, you can see he's searching for a gear there. That's going to hurt him. So Blake Davis gave that spot to both these guys, and PJ just gave one back. At the front, 2:14.179 for Corey Alexander. He's about 6/10 off the back right now of Jake Lewis, but they're 5.1 seconds up the road now from PJ. So here's a good look at the points right now. It's down to 14 if it ended the way it does the end of that last lap.
And back there in 27th place is Matthew Scholz doing 2:14.5s. So he's on pace with the leaders, but he's not making any inroads in terms of what's happening up front because 2:14.3, 2:14.1, 2:14.1s in the mix there. So for Scholz, he's just trying to do the best he can at this point and hope things really fall in front of him as he's moved up to 25th position now for Scholz. So he's only 10 positions away as Corey's getting a little bit loose under acceleration. As we have about 5.5 laps to go in Supersport race number 1. It's Jake Lewis out front on the Altus Motorsports GSX-R 750. And right behind him is Corey Alexander on the 23 on the Ray Hall Ducati Moto with roller die informing.
You got the 2 biggest guys leading the race.
Biggest guys.
And they're probably thinking, where's everybody else? Where haven't I been drafted down this big, long straightaway you see at COTA? Here we go back there again. Blake Davis drafts past that Vision Wheel M4XR Suzuki of Ty Scott. PJ Jacobsen now pulling up onto the back of them again. So Blake Davis does a good job of taking back 3rd place. And this was the little area stadium section that I spoke about at the top of the show. Fun little section here, Greg. You go right, then you go back to the left here. You're going to run it in, get on the brakes, and then tip it in hard as it cuts back on itself. And Blake does a good job of getting himself through there. And then probably one of the funnest turns on our calendar, this big, long turns 18 or 17 and 18. looked like Ty Scott had the notion of maybe going underneath, but Blake carrying a lot of roll speed, letting that R6 roll through the middle of it.
Yeah, with the asphalt the way it is now, with a lot of those bumps gone, you have different line choices to that long right-hand corner. So this battle for third has started to settle down, at least these last series of corners here at Circuit of the Americas. Across the line comes Jake Lewis with a 2.3 second lead. And so it's 5 laps to go for third place. And all eyes on championship contender P.J. Jacobsen, as once again P.J. Jacobsen, the number 15 on the yellow Ray Hall Ducati with Expel bike, in the championship hunt with Matthew Schultz, who went down earlier on the first lap of this race and has worked his way up to 24th. That's still a non-points paying position.
PJ's really good through this little section here. You can see him kind of draw up on the back of these guys, and then through this long right, we saw him go up underneath Mesa, and you might see him try to square up Ty Scott here the same and try to go up underneath him. Not quite close enough. Ty carried a lot of speed through there. You see it even ran him a little bit wide, but no, so PJ's gonna have to figure out another spot. As I'm sure that's a spot when, as a rider, you start getting comfortable passing guys there, and it's kind of a surprise attack spot there. Hannah.
Well, talking to Ty Scott earlier today, I said that you could be a factor in this championship. Do you have alliance to anybody? Are you going to help anyone if you have the opportunity? He said, I'm not going to go out of my way to ruin it for someone, but if I had the opportunity, I could help PJ. Right now, it's not really a factor because of where Matthew Schultz is on the track, and obviously Ty wants to secure as many points as he can for himself and his team as well.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that for the Vision Wheel M4XR Suzuki rider, who is both riders trying to get those motorcycles stopped, but it's got to be around the outside. No, it's not going to get that done. But for Ty Scott, in the situation he's in right now, he's not going to want to give up that position, because so close to getting a podium in a year that's been up and down for the GSXR 750 rider. But Blake Davis right now, after a couple little miscues himself, is trying to have a clean race, and PJ's the only one who can hold a tight line through that corner. Corey Alexander has dropped himself out of second place. So Corey has some big mistake or some issue off the back, and that's going to extend Jake Lewis's lead and take all the pressure off the 85 who's running out front. Unless for some reason, Jason.
Well, last time by Greg, he went 16-1, so he was 2.3 off. So
unless for some reason Corey either had a problem or maybe he decided, I'm going to go try to help. No, he's got a problem.
Yeah, it's something shifting wise. He's not going to do it that early. Corey wants to get a result, and when you see your board saying +3, +4, +5, he's pulling away and still has a chance to win. At that point, he's not going to do anything for PJ. So this is an inadvertent thing. This is a bummer for Corey Alexander. This was one of the best results and rides we've seen from him all year. But how about Jake Lewis? Not even in the screen. 5.2 seconds. So this is going to be Corey having trouble getting that Ducati into gear, Greg. He's going to catch a false neutral there. And something tells me that that wasn't the first time it happened, because the lap previous, he was almost 2 seconds slower than that of Jake Lewis. So it happened a lap prior as well. So Corey pointing down at that shifter. So for PJ Jacobsen, he's in fourth place now. He still has, second place obviously staring him right in the face. Blake Davis looks hungry though, doesn't he? He looks like he's wanting to continue that momentum that he carried in from Ohio.
Wow, just riders all trying to get these things stopped after some fast straightaways. There's a look at the lone 85, Altus Motorsports, Jake Lewis. 3 podiums so far this season, including race 2 at Mid-Ohio the last time we raced. All 3 of those podiums have been third place finishes. And my goodness, the crew from Kentucky is going to erupt with joy if Jake Lewis can hold on and win this race.
And you see just in the background there, Filippo Follini on another Ducati. He just went by Corey going into turn 12 there off the end of the back straightaway. So he's had a really good solid weekend, has Follini so far, and he's right in podium contention. But for Jake Lewis, Greg, I'll tell you right now, when you're at a big, long racetrack like this, as Blake Davis runs a little wide, I don't think it's going to cost him, no. But when you're Jake Lewis and you see on your pit board plus five at a place like this, man, it gives you a lot of encouragement. As you see, here's a good look at Jake Lewis on the 85, doing triple duty this weekend.
Triple duty. And he is a big boy. And when you're a larger human being, you tend to generate more BTUs just by your body, and when it's 100 degrees outside or real close to it, plus all the heat on the asphalt, it gets crazy for you. Battle for third place is Ty Scott trying to get his bike shifted, but it looks like PJ Jacobson might have the opportunity to go up the inside. Meanwhile, Fulini, the 22 back there, battling it out with Mesa and David Anthony. So a couple of great battles, as now it looks like Blake Davis in second place is starting to dictate the pace in second. But what does PJ Jacobson have now that he's got a clear track in front of him? Can he make up the gap? Boy, a lot of roll speed for the number 15 through that corner.
Yeah, you're exactly right. That's that spot, that first split, where it seems like he's making up quite a bit of time. The 15 is, but that R6, Greg, it's fast today. You can see it on straightaways and things. Blake's riding the wheels off it as well, obviously, but he's taking advantage of some things there. That looks like Risting Rig, maybe that one. As it goes through, he's in the S's, and but you see Blake really holds the bike upright for a long time in late apexes, these really short corners. So it looks like everybody's really gaining on him, but they're just little difference in lines. But you can see down this straightaway, Greg, those two guys behind can't really just jump in the draft of that R6. So it's rolling right along. 5.1 seconds last lap by was Jake Lewis over Blake Davis. Ty Scott now looking down the inside of PJ Jacobson.
Oh boy. And Ty felt a lot of confidence in the front end of that bike and able to get that one done. As a rider who told Hannah that he doesn't want to mess with this championship, that was a bold pass.
But you can see PJ gave him room. That's the thing I like about it. There's a point where you can go up underneath somebody or have somebody come up underneath you, as you see Blake Davis run wide once again in that tight turn. I talked to you earlier, Greg, about this. These slow corners can definitely bring out a lot of mistakes, and it's super easy to get in there what feels a little bit too hot. And you're better off doing what Blake does and just getting the bike in there, turned, and instead of trying to force it down. But going back to what I said about PJ, in a year where we've seen riders from all different series around the world not give each other space, PJ gave Ty Scott a little bit of space there. He's got a bigger picture in mind.
So to the line we go. It'll be 2 laps to go. This is the battle for second, as now Corey Alexander looks like he has worked his way back in and maybe figured out his shifting problems as the 22 goes back around Ty Scott, but deep into turn 1. Ty Scott just whipping that motorcycle around that Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki. It looks like in certain corners Ty Scott can put it any place on the racetrack he wants, but here comes Blake Davis again. Roll speed around the outside, position up the inside, and that's for second again.
That's impressive. I mean, it was impressive what Ty Scott did by just letting off the lever and going to the inside. And then it was just as impressive watching Blake Davis roll around the outside of him in turn 2. Now you have Corey Alexander come into the party, as well as Filippo Fellini there just off the back in 6th place. So we've got a pretty big battle here, and this is probably not exactly what PJ Jacobson wants to be around. Guys trying to vie for podiums and positions and realizing how important it is to get up on that box. So for PJ, a little bit of and he's going to dive down the inside of Ty Scott here. But even that, Ty gave him some space as well. Now let's see if Corey Alexander can draft anywhere near that 70 of Ty Scott as they go down this back straightaway here at COTA at what, Greg? What's it going to be down that back straightaway?
165 miles an hour for the bikes in the draft. Off the back straightaway we go, and look at Corey Alexander taking a bite out of a couple riders. Corey wants that second position back. He goes around his teammate on that Ray Hall Ducati Moto team, and Corey Alexander now back into a podium position when we thought he was out of it. But now Corey Alexander has the bit between his teeth. Is he going to get by the 22 and leave the last podium spot battle for these 3 as Ty Scott now goes wide, and Fulini looks like he might have gotten position around the number 70 on the Honos Ducati. So here comes Corey Alexander. He's been able to see for a couple of laps where Blake Davis is strong. For Alexander, trying to get a drive on the edge of the tire. Is he going to try him on the brakes? Not in this corner.
It could happen at the top of turn 1, depending on the drives by both riders as they get out of here. The hardest thing is now, Ty Scott and PJ are both going to be there to try to get a double bike draft, but the 2 guys in front there got off that last corner good, as we see a 4.5 second lead on the white flag for Jake Lewis. Corey Alexander comes across. PJ Jacobson now is going to take a shot. He does. He takes a shot at Corey Alexander.
Oh, look at Ty Scott
trying to ride around the outside. That's going to put him in a good spot coming down the hill, but nope. That door kind of gets closed on him. So now it's going to be up to PJ. I'd expect PJ to maybe take a shot, not through this little section, but they're going to go through this big, long right-hander right now. PJ opens that up a little bit. Let's see if he tries to slide down the inside of Blake Davis in this next left-hand corner. No, he tried. You see that bike get out of shape? He was getting on the throttle with the hopes of trying to get down the inside of Blake Davis, but that Ducati was having none of it. That rear tire was having none of it this late in the race.
And Matthew Schultz is up to 18th place, but he is some seconds away from that final points-paying position. So the advantage is going to be whatever PJ is able to claw back. Right now, he's in 3rd place. He's got 16 points in hands. He's going for second, 20 points. Oh, and he had to get off the brakes for a moment because it looked like Blake Davis was getting down to that apex. As Jake Lewis continues to be out front, you saw him just flash by the screen. On this long back straightaway we go, and Blake Davis with his Yamaha R6 is ripping down this back straightaway and able to get a bit of room between himself and his competitors. Can the 22 get it slowed down? There goes Ty Scott, Vision Wheel M4X Star Suzuki, and he's able to get around Corey Alexander. So the battles for the final spot on the podium are still mixing up.
Oh, and he runs wide, does Ty Scott. That's going to open the door for Corey Alexander. Now Corey's going to have to tighten up in here, and he does. Blake Davis does a good job in a corner we've seen him make a few mistakes in the past. He does a good job at getting through there. This battle for 3rd is Fellini now. Looks like he's trying to stuff it up the inside of PJ Jacobsen. And like I said, this is not what PJ wants to be doing at this moment, especially battling against a guy he doesn't know. Fellini has another look. PJ closes that door. This is the battle for second.
Only a couple of corners remain in this Super Sport race number 1. As Jake Lewis onto the front straightaway, wheel in the air. What an amazing victory for the Altus Motorsports racer. And coming down to the line, it's going to be Blake Davis, Corey Alexander, Ty Scott, and PJ Jacobsen relegated back to 5th place. David Anthony comes across in 8th, just behind Mesa. Fellini on the Honus bike in 6th. Now all eyes on the number 11, Matthew Schultz. Was he able to work himself into at least one single point as Kayla Yakov comes across the line behind Torin Collins and Max Van. Gerardo in 12th. As now here comes the number 11. Onto the front straightaway they go, and there's points just ahead of him, and it's going to be Matthew Schultz in 16th place, just behind Jared Nisani, and doesn't get that one single valuable point. What a ride from him, crashing, and was Jason 1/10 away from getting 15th place for Schultz. But all eyes on this guy. Jake Lewis, one of the tallest, biggest riders we have in the middleweight sport bike category in Supersport, gets an unbelievable start, bullies his way to the front, and is able to dictate the pace. What a ride for the 85. Wow. If your heart's pumping, we don't blame you. Let it settle down during this break. When we come back, we're going to talk to the 85 about his win at COTA.
Continuing with you here live on MotoAmerica Live Plus. Roger, as we watch that race, what a ride for Jake Lewis.
Yeah, what a ride for Jake, and it's great to see him get that win as good as he was riding at Mid-Ohio. And you know, for Jake, he a couple years ago was out of racing, got a day job, and got an opportunity now with the Altus team, and he's really made the most of it. And it's great to see him out there. And I mean, he's been a talent for a long time, and he's really been able to show it this year at Supersport, and able to come out there and get a win and dominated. He got a good start and put his head down and, you know, checked out.
That win today, his 4th podium result of the season, his first win here in the Supersport category. Matthew Schultz, though, that huge moment early on, able to claw himself back up through the field, but only into 16th place, no points awarded. And look at the words now between the two of them.
He thinks it's PJ's fault. Oh boy.
Yeah, this is a conversation that's going to continue once these riders get off the track as well.
You know, the replay we seen, it didn't really look like they got into it up into turn 1, but on the exit, it didn't look like PJ was in the middle of it.
You can see Schultz still visibly upset.
It kind of looked like Matt was on the right side of the track when he set up for turn
All right,
two.
we have the replay now. Let's take a look back at this, Roger.
Yeah, you see, well, look at PJ right there on the yellow bike. You can watch him all the way up into turn one. Matt is there on the outside. See what happens. PJ trying to get a good start here. Gets in a little bit deep, bumps into Matt. That's kind of normal. But I'm having trouble, that maybe there's an angle that I'm not seeing.
All right, we have one more angle there. You could see that contact threw Skoltz off of his line just a bit, but then the rest of it, PJ wasn't involved in.
Yeah, I didn't, unless he thought because of what happened earlier, but it just kind of looked like he on the right side of the track to the left. But maybe there's something we're missing.
Be interesting to hear the take that Matthew Skoltz has on this incident and what it looked like from aboard his Yamaha. And you can see how he was able to run over to the bike, able to pick it back up, get back out there, come through the field. Wasn't able to score any points today, but that conversation is certainly going to continue. Go back to the podium and the riders that were able to earn some points today. There is Blake Davis being able to celebrate right now. It's his 5th podium finish of the season. He's coming on strong in this move up through Supersport. But look, Corey Alexander there to celebrate as well with that 3rd place finish. Had that problem mid-race.
Great job by Corey. Tough weekend at Mid-Ohio with some issues. Had some problems beginning of this race. Fell back. We thought we was out of it. And he chased those guys back down and ended up on the podium. That was a great ride by Corey there.
There was a message that came from Race Control that the Turn 1 incident between the 11 and the 361 was going to be under review post-race, but the bike number that is not mentioned by Race Control is the number 15.
And I'm sure they'll probably go back and look at all of it. But, what about this guy today? Able to get a good start, check out, lead flag to flag, built a nice lead up where the last couple laps he didn't get caught up in that battle. And that's the thing. He was able to put his laps in, and not only his laps, but good laps.
Able to win this one today. He also finished 2nd earlier in the Super Hooligans race. A great day for Jake Lewis. Let's go back over to Greg and Jason.
Back here at Circuit of the Americas, Supersport Race number 1 is in the books. Jake Lewis with a win. Blake Davis, Corey Alexander. Interesting run for the championship. And we got to go back and take a look at what happened at the start.
Well, Matthew didn't get a great start, and right here you can see, looks like to me he's crowding PJ a little bit, and they run into it. And then watch Matthew go from the right. He's going back across the track and gets caught up in an incident there with Martin Cardenas, but not really sure what Matthew's so frustrated with PJ about on the cool-off lap there. But the thing is that I'm just happy all these guys got missed going down that hill. Like you say, Greg, all the riders did a good job of missing this stuff. So I didn't really see anything. Definitely didn't see anything egregious on PJ Jacobsen's part there.
This is the cool down lap as Matthew's having a conversation through a helmet with the 15. Not really sure what he's saying there, but obviously there's some frustration for the number 11 Strack Racing Yamaha R6. That we do know.
That's interesting.
Regardless of that, we know that Jake Lewis was able to dominate this race, even with pressure from Corey Alexander. And as we look at the race results, you can see that it's a 2.8 second margin of victory over Blake Davis. What a run for him. Man, he really earned that one. So did Corey Alexander, who dropped back and had to make his way up front. And Ty Scott with PJ Jacobsen with 11 points. But let's get down to our winner, Jake Lewis.
An impressive performance from start to finish for Jake Lewis in this race. His 2nd podium of the day and his 1st Supersport victory of the season. Jake, how were you able to do that back-to-back under such conditions?
First of all, I didn't see my name on that win probability sheet. I saw these other 2 guys beside me on there and saw Matt and PJ, and my fiance back home, Blair, sent that to me. Get you a little fired up before the race because I've had a damn good bike underneath me the past 2 weekends. Big hats off to the whole Altus Motorsports team. They've been busting their butts for me, especially my mechanic, Will, Rick Matheny. He's been unbelievable on the chassis. We've put K-Tech on the bike, and the thing's handling unbelievable. So, and then Murph on the electronics. So a big hats off to them and all the team sponsors. Buy a jet from Steve Main. He's local here in Texas. So if you need a jet, you know who to call. And my personal sponsors, Bell Helmets, Forest R Leathers, Alpine Stars, and just everyone cheering me on back home and supporting me. You know, even Greg up in the booth says I'm fat sometimes and that I'm out of shape, so I'd like him to come get him some in this heat.
It's not the size of the rider, it's the fight in the rider, guys.
Of course, he's going to call me. Listen, I didn't say it. I didn't say it. I just said he's a tall guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's taller than me.
I'm proud of Jake. I think that
I wish I had the talent he had.
Unreal talent from Jake Lewis. What a win.
And, of course, that's his second podium in a row. And he does it, Jay. These are shades of like an Aaron Yates winning that MotoAmerica all those years ago when you see a middleweight sport bike winner in Jake Lewis. But Hannah's still down there with second place.
Second place today, another podium appearance for Blake Davis. Some really dicey battles out there. Take us through your perspective.
Yeah, it was a crazy race start. I hope everybody's okay from that. I almost got caught up in it. I got shuffled back quite a bit and just slowly made my way through. I made a few mistakes along the line that I know I can clean up tomorrow. So, yeah, going tomorrow, I need a better start. I need to stay out of the carnage and get up front earlier. I'd like to thank Yamaha Motors, into Dainese, Bobblehead Moto, Evan Brothers. Oh, shoot. I know I'm forgetting some, but just thank everyone that has helped me out. SBS and Sunstar. I think that's it.
Congrats, Blake, guys.
Always good to see a smile on his face after a really hard-fought win. And, yeah, there were some motorcycles all over the place in that battle for what ended up being second place. It was for third for quite a while. And the reason for that was that the third-place finisher, Corey Alexander, had a problem in the middle of the race. He dropped back but was able to claw his way back onto the podium. He's with Hannah.
Third place today for Corey Alexander, and as Greg mentioned, had a bit of a bobble there in the middle of the race, but you made your way back into a podium finishing position. How do you manage the risk knowing that your teammate who's fighting for the championship is also in that battle with you?
Yeah, I was really only willing to pass him on a straightaway. I kind of said that going to the last lap. If I could draft him and get by him 100% clear, then I would do the move. But even then, I was like, man, I didn't know where Matt was, if Matt was coming through the field. I didn't want to take any points away from PJ, but you know, after Mid-Ohio, I just wanted to give the whole Rahal Ducati Moto Roller Die team you know, a good result. That was the worst weekend of my career, and I think for everybody on the team. So huge thanks to them, Arai, Alpine Stars, Iwasa Battery, Sal's Pizza, RA Racing, whole Ride HVMC crew, Prestige Services Group, Terry, Ride HVMC, like I said, Detail Doctor, just everybody. Hopefully we can do another race tomorrow and then head back home to Jersey.
Some redemption for Corey Alexander, guys.
And quite a ride for him.
Yeah, really well deserved, and I think that whatever that little false neutral was, or whatever that he lost contact, would have been interesting to see if him and Jake could have stayed together in that race. So we'll see tomorrow.
The very slender 85 Jake Lewis celebrating his big win. Our coverage continues when we get back to the Circuit of the Americas.
Continuing here on MotoAmerica Live Plus as the riders are all ready to be able to get up onto the podium and accept their hardware. And Jake Lewis said it, the team has worked so hard, Roger. They've given him a solid bike. You mentioned it starting back at Mid-Ohio. They've always been right there, and today he was able to finally capitalize.
Yeah, and the Altus crew and Supersport, they've won Stock 1000 races before, and it's great to see them able to work hard. You see able to go up there and get their reward. That's why the sponsors do it. You know, that's the team owners right there, able to get up there. And it's really cool they let both of them, because those two have really saved some people's careers, giving them bikes. And Jake gave credit to the crew, and they made some big changes before Mid-Ohio, switching suspension, which is a bit of a gamble during the season. Luckily, we had that Dunlop test that day, so it gave them the opportunity to try it, and they were the best guys today. And Jake rode great, and the bike looked awesome.
Yeah, Jake didn't make any mistakes. He is certainly in a good rhythm here this weekend. We talked about how challenging this track can be, and with the heat conditions, how the riders would all be feeling the fatigue out there. But for Jake Lewis, he was just able to keep on going, plowing through it. 2 podiums so far today.
And he's going to want a break now. You know, 2 races back-to-back. He's going to have to try to get some fluids in him and try to get going. And it's been pretty hot and humid in Kentucky, and I know Jake's been riding his dirt bike a lot, so probably paid off today.
Riders will now all go over and do a press conference. It'll be streamed on Facebook. I'm going to go ahead and send it back to Greg and Jason.
Back here at Circuit of the Americas, Supersport Race number 1. with a huge victory for Jake Lewis and the Altus Motorsports team on that Suzuki GSXR 750. And he gets to stand on top of the podium. Man, JP doing triple duty this weekend. Jake Lewis has really turned on the gas. But here's the start of the race and the incident we'll be talking about for some time.
Yeah, it's you know, you get up there in turn one. I said it's a very difficult one to get through. Matthew didn't get the greatest of starts. By the time he got to the top of the hill, it looked like he was trying to just kind of get himself some track position. But PJ, I didn't think he did much wrong there. So Jake Lewis found himself at the front before the end of the first lap. And you can see him and Corey Alexander had separated. Corey made this mistake. You'll see him come into the screen on the left on the 23. At that point now, though, Jake Lewis had a 5-second lead. He was gone. This race for second kept getting hotter and hotter with more and more riders coming into the mix. You see back there six different riders. You see Mesa off the back. This was going into the final lap, and Blake Davis was able to hold that position. Ty Scott ran a little bit wide, gave Corey Alexander third. So, but this guy up front, Greg, it's so good to see Jake Lewis win in this class, and especially like you said, doing 3 classes this weekend, staying busy. It's hot out there, and he came off that Hooligans race, jumps on the Supersport bike, switches his leathers, and goes out and puts together a great win for that Altus Motorsports team.
Yeah, and he still has more to come. A little tap of the leathers there for Jake Lewis, but he'll be looking for more later as our coverage. We have more from Austin, Texas when we return.
Staying with you here on MotoAmerica Live Plus. That was the second race of the day. We still have 3 more to go. Next up to the racetrack when it's go time will be Steel Commander Superbike, their first of 3 races for the weekend. You can see everyone out there on the grid starting to get into their positions and get ready. Roger, a triple header versus a double header. What effect does that have on riders?
Just more wear and tear on your body and stuff that you have to manage throughout the weekend, and showing up and really staying on top of it. Not only 3 races, but look at the heat coming off the asphalt. So just, you know, just the physical condition, the nutrition, the staying hydrated. You know, a couple years ago, we used to do 2 Superbike races in one day, and the riders are going to be doing that tomorrow, but they're not going to have what happened having a race today before those double headers. So it's going to be a lot on these riders, and they're going to be wishing they were the guys in shape. That's when that work's going to pay off this weekend.
With Superbike teams out there to get ready for their race that will begin just after the top of the hour. We're going to go ahead and send it back to Greg and Jason with Hannah Lopa, who are going to put a period on Supersport.
MotoAmerica Supersport coverage is brought to you by Dunlop, the official tire of the MotoAmerica Championship Series.
What everybody's been waiting for, the championship point standings. And the difference is 11 points. So with 5th place, PJ was able to get 11, and Skoltz was 16th, not able to grab a point. So Matthew Skoltz, after crashing, picking the motorcycle up and putting in an unbelievable ride, including fastest lap of the race on lap number 9 for the 11. It's 14 points now in this championship. And we know, Jason, that tomorrow is definitely going to look like a different day because, number one of the advantages of doing those double headers is that everybody now has some experience as to what the tires are going to do. Maybe different tire choice tomorrow, depending on what's available, and definitely going to be a different race.
Yeah, no question. We know Matthew has pace, and we didn't want to see the championship get shook up like this and this way it did today. But that said, it has shook the championship up. And for Jake Lewis, it's a tremendous win for him and that team. You know, he said he's been there all season long, and you don't think these guys are looking at the probabilities in the betting app and things like that. So his girlfriend Blair reaches out to him and says, hey, you're not even on the list. So a little bit of extra motivation for him today, and that's great.
And, of course, for Jake Lewis, he's 3rd in the championship. He's out of the possibility of winning the championship. But the biggest thing for Jake Lewis is he can have a massive effect on how this championship plays out.
He can, and it's also good for him for next year. I mean, Jake Lewis is a guy that we need to see in our series. He's found a home over there with Altus, it seems like, and I think that moving into next year, something like this, a win right at the end of the season, never hurts how people are going to look at you going into the offseason.
And you can see that Jake's a very tall rider. He's got broad shoulders, and he punches a big hole in the air. But, Jay, we often talk about Circuit of the Americas. It's got a couple of long straightaways, and so a lot of people think automatically that the person who's small and a fast bike is going to win here. But what Jake Lewis did is prove that talent in the corners, because you're on the edge of the tire for so long through here, and you can win races.
Sector 1. When you look at Jake Lewis's Sector 1 times, that's where he was pulling that field apart. And that's a very key section at this place, and that's what he was able to do. And they weren't able to get close enough to him going down that back straightaway, and that's a big deal when you are a bigger guy and not letting guys get in your draft. So tremendous victory.
So all eyes are also going to be on Blake Davis and, of course, Ty Scott, as well as Corey Alexander. Tomorrow's race is going to be amazing. Well, congratulations to Jake Lewis and the Altus Motorsport team on his first win of the season. Does he have more in the tank tomorrow? We can't wait to find out. How's this championship going to play out? For Hannah and Jason, I'm Greg. Thanks for checking out Supersport Race #1. We're excited to do it again tomorrow.
The grid here at Circuit of the Americas is starting to fill up now.